I keep getting questions, tight ranges versus wide ranges. What is better and why? Why are tight ranges actually so bad? And I'm gonna break that down to you really fast and easy, just why you probably don't wanna use tight ranges, but when maybe something tight would make sense. Just to use a very easy example, I wanna look at something like ETH USDC. So it's important to break down the ranges and really understand the inner workings and compositions of a liquidity pool. Right now, this one is 25% wide, but I want to use this rebalance tool to show you what something would be when it is much, much smaller. So for example, I'm gonna do a -1 and a +1%. So this is a 2% wide pool, and you can see that is doing a 524% APR. That is insane. That is really attractive to someone that may not know what they're doing. 524% APR, that's almost 2% a day. You're like, no brainer. I would do this all day, provide liquidity between ETH and USDC. Let me show you why it is not good to do. Even if you believe in ETH long term. Right here. If you're in a 2% wide pool, so we're gonna use this right here as an example of 2% is the range. We're using ETH USDC and it's 20K, right? The problem is that you're 2% wide. So your liquidity gets divided essentially, and it's not this way in every pool exactly, but for ease of understanding, it's gonna get broken up. It's gonna get broken up into 1% ticks. So your liquidity gets divided here and here, because you have a 2% wide range. So essentially, if we were using 20K, you'd have this 1% bucket right here that's gonna have 10K, and 1% bucket on this side that's gonna have 10K. On whichever side of your liquidity the current price is, that is the active side that will actually be facilitating swaps in that current range. And since you have so much liquidity in a 1% tick, it's gonna look like you have a much higher APR, because at any one moment in time that you're in that range, you're gonna have 10K working. Whereas if you spread that capital out, you will have less and less liquidity working each time. So let me show you. Let's say we want to do a 4% wide range. You'll see the APR cut in half, almost exactly. It's down to 262%. So why did it get cut in half? Well, an easy way to visualize is that now it's a 4% wide range. So your 20K is in 4 1% buckets that are all worth $5,000 each. So depending on where the price is in your range you're making, depends on which bucket's active, okay? So that's why your APR is gonna cut down. So you might be like, okay, why would I cut down? Why not just go tight? What is the real problem with going tight on a range? And to demonstrate this problem, I'm gonna go one step deeper, and we're gonna make this a -4 and a +4. I'm gonna show you in a wider one. You'll see, it went from 260 to 130. It cut in half again. And again, why does it cut in half? You guys tell me. Well, because you have 20K divided amongst 8 buckets, 8 ticks of 1%. So as ETH USDC moves by 1%, you're moving into a different bucket of your liquidity that's being used. At any moment in time, you only have one bucket actively working, okay? Wherever that current price is gonna be your active TVL. And because of that, remember, if you're in your liquidity, you had $10,000 in a bucket, you're earning 500%, right? Compared to your overall amount in the pool, because half of it was working at one time. Whereas down here, you only have 2.5K working at any one time. Hopefully this is making sense. Let me know in the comments if you need a little more clarification. Now, again, the question is, why not go tight, especially on something like this? If it's an asset-to-asset pair, it's a little easier to argue going tight, because then your ETH might get converted to Bitcoin. Oh no. But even then, here's the reason why. You're holding the riskier asset because you want the gains. And if you go tight in a range, you're pretty much only exposing yourself to downside. And I'm gonna show you why. And it's because of how pool compositions work. Wherever this current price is, this red arrow here is going to be the current price, and we're gonna pretend the boundaries are $4,000 Ethereum to $5,000 Ethereum, and we're going to pretend for easy demonstration purposes that this is an 8% wide move right here. Okay, at the bottom or anywhere below your range, you are holding 100% Ethereum. 100% Ethereum. So if Ethereum goes down to $2,000 and you had this open, you are holding Ethereum all the way down to $2,000. And that's your downside. Your downside is Ethereum itself, okay? So if you're picking quality long-term assets, your downside's not anything greater than just hodling, okay? But if you choose too tight of a range, you significantly limit your upside. Because as we go here, let's say at 4,000, you start slowly getting converted to USDC. This bucket specifically, this one on the left side. Once your price gets to here, let's say this is like 41 something-ish. Once we're in this bucket, everything in this bucket to the left is now USDC. With everything over here to the right is still waiting as Ethereum. So as ETH pumps in price, all these on the right side of the arrow, they're still experiencing appreciation of Ethereum, right? So as this goes, this last little guy over here, he's going to get the most appreciation out of every single bucket in this pool because he's going to be the last man standing. Just like if price goes down, this guy's going to be the one that gets fucked the most because this dude's been experiencing all the downside, right? Hopefully this kind of makes sense. This might be clearing some things up that you've never realized before. So as this moves up, you're going to get converted to USDC. So your pool is going to stop getting as much appreciation. And where this really becomes a problem when you're in something like ETH USDC, let me just copy this arrow so I have it, is if you're doing something like, let's say the 2% wide because you want to make 500%. Well, let's say price moves up. First off, that happens in a day. 2% on Ethereum, boop, and now you're holding all USDC. You cashed out. Now you got no appreciation because you opened this up, half of it was already USDC, and then boop, immediately it's all USDC now. You had no appreciation. But you still have all the same downside of Ethereum because if it goes down on this side, you're boom, Ethereum all the way down, and you're not making any APR because you're out of range. And so as you start to widen the range, this gets less risky. You make less APR, but you're in range for longer, and you'll experience more appreciation. You'll also experience more depreciation in a stable pair specifically if it goes to the downside because you're going to get converted to that volatile asset much faster. The wider you go, the more boring your APR gets. Let me hide this arrow back up here. The wider you go, the more boring your APR will usually get. Like you will see that I'm on a 25% wide and it's saying only 43% right now. This thing will still do 80 to 120. I've seen over 160, 200%. It still pumps out good quality throughout the course of a month. It's just that right now, it's not showing anything super fantastic. It's just the timing of the video. It is what it is. It's the weekend. Weekend APRs are always low. It's a freaking, what is it? It's not a weekend, bro. It's Thursday. What's going on? APRs, they fluctuate. They do what they want based off volume. The government's in the middle of shutting down right now at the time of recording this video. Who freaking knows, right? So it's just important because as you widen this out, you're going to be able to maintain exposure to this asset for longer, okay? Which in most cases is something that you want. So in your question, like when would a tight range make the most sense? And that might be on something where you're taking on a lot of risk of a token and you specifically want to cash out at X price. You would set the range to where the top is when you want to be out. So like Ethereum, maybe you believe it might go to 8K, okay? Maybe you believe that Ethereum might go to $8,000, but you have a chunk of it that you want to be sold out at, let's say, $5,000, like right here. You would set whatever range necessary to capture a reasonable low that's wide enough that you would maintain good appreciation because you're going to hold Ethereum for longer. But then also at the point that you want to be done, you'll be cashed out. And then you just need to make sure that you know you took profit along the way, all the way up to this point. So you better not be fucking full porting into ETH at like $6,000 later when you sold out at 5K, right? So the wider you go, the less APR you're going to get, but the more appreciation you will get, and the more you'll have exposure to assets for longer, which again is going to just work out in your favor more often than not. Set it wide, let it ride. That typically tends to be the best strategy. There's not really any time when I really wish I would have had a tighter range. Because again, you're going to maintain the same downside. If you go tight, even if it's on a risky asset, right? If it performs, say it performs better than you thought, and you're on a risky asset, you're just going to stop getting appreciation on that risk, but you're still holding all that downside risk until you close the pool. Because if the pool comes back, then you still have the same downside risk. It doesn't stay cashed out forever because it's a liquidity pool. So you can keep this position open. And let's say in that example, like down here, where let's say, like, for example, something safe like ETH USDC, yeah, it's cashed out at 5K, and ETH might go on to $7,000, $8,000. But if you don't come in and close this pool, whenever ETH's running back down to wherever it's going to go, maybe 2K again, once it finally goes past 5K again, boop, now you're back in range, you're making money again, which could be good. Or if you thought you were sold out, I mean, now you're low-key getting back into ETH, right? And then at 4K, you've DCA'd into ETH at an average cost somewhere in the middle here. So hopefully this makes sense. I am very easily able to get super autistic into this stuff, but I also love giving breakdowns on why things work the way they do and helping you understand them. So this is kind of a lot of the value you get inside my community, where again, we have 105 members and they're all learning how to cash flow, make $5, $10, $15,000 a month. And you can too. Just click the link in my description and let's get to working together. Okay, book a call with me. We'll get you to living the life of your dreams, cash flowing it off the cryptocurrency you already own. And again, this usually looks much better than this, but at the time of this video, that's what we have. So hopefully this makes sense. I am not the greatest artist, obviously, but I am trying to make a good visual for you, a good representation. But if you have any more questions after this, because I know the little red arrow demonstration maybe isn't the easiest, leave them in the comments down below. Or again, book a call with me. Let's work one-on-one. I have 105 clients that I work with each and every single day, that I do calls with throughout the week, my DMs are open 24/7. If you want to learn how to make $5, $10, $15,000 a month off your crypto, there's no better way than clicking the link in my description and getting started. So again, any questions, throw them in the comments, click that link in my description. And if not, I'll see you in the next video.